Hello, and welcome to Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. I'm Susy Parker Goins. I'm a channel, energy healer, past life explorer, and teacher. My links are in the description box for podcasts, financial support, and contact information. So please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Do all the things. Thank you. I upload on Mondays and Thursdays. The best way to contact me is through email at susypgoins@gmail.com for current pricing, availability, and to schedule an appointment. Thanks for all your support. So, one of the things I have come to truly enjoy about what I do is exploring past lives. I mean, to think that we only have one life in which to do all the things, to learn, to live, to love, it doesn't make sense to me. The single counterargument I have for people who think we only get one life is to ask, how do you see God? Do you believe God is limitless? And okay, so while I've never had the conversation or had to say the words to anyone, I do have it all laid out in my head. Absolutely. So this is my thinking. If someone believes that God is all-knowing, all-seeing, all everything, why do some people's versions of God seem so limited? If God had dictated that marriage was between one man and one woman, and only a man and a woman, I mean, how limited is that? If God had said that only people who read a particular book written by humans are eligible to level up, how limited is that? I mean, if your God says that only people whose skin is a certain color or who are his chosen, how limited, narrow-minded, and well, how stupid is that? I mean, true, I grew up Catholic. I was baptized, confirmed. I went to parochial school all the way through high school. I even went to church through sophomore year in college. So I understand, I get that religion, that organized religion, can provide a foundation for living. But I don't see how words that have been attributed to God can get so twisted and edited to suit someone else's ego. So when I finally left the church, I spent a couple of years as an atheist. I was living without all of that stuff, the voices and the expansiveness of the divine. It was pretty lonely. So from one end of the spectrum to being all Catholic, to the other end of the spectrum to being an atheist, now to the middle, after a while I started to call myself agnostic. I believed in something greater than myself, but I just didn't know what to call it. And that's when I started on my branching out to alternative spirituality, they call it now. It's still a spiritual journey. It was my spiritual journey. I learned how to read tarot. I discovered Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. I read the Jane Roberts and Seth materials. I subscribed to feminine spirituality magazines. I mean, I played with paganism. I read books not only about spirituality, but on ESP and past life stuff and all sorts of things, all the things. At the time, it was a guilty pleasure for me. I was feeling like I was so grown up because I could choose my own thing. I could choose what I was doing, especially since I was growing up. I had grown up in a church that would otherwise condemn it. So I look back now and I see that it was a start of me breaking away from the confinements of a church, of organization. I understand that what I felt like, I understand that I felt like my own person, a grown up. And so I took control of my own spirituality. And I found that the divine doesn't need to be limited in any way. Divine, or the universe, is far more expansive than what a mortal human mind can conceive. So now I call myself a why notian. Why not tarot cards to provide a focus for me to gain an insight on an issue? Why not talk to a discarnate avatar or spiritual healers? Why not heal through focused intention? And all this leads up to why not living multiple lives and examine the lessons in each lifetime and heal? Why not? Reincarnation accepts that the divine is so expansive as to not limit us to one lifetime. And how can we, as humans, learn all there is to know, learn all we are set up to learn in a single lifetime? And back in the 90s, there was a guy named Daniel Brinkley, and he wrote a book about his near-death experiences. And at the same time, there was a woman named Betty J. Eady who wrote a book on her similar experience. But see, the main difference between them was that Miss Eady believed in only one lifetime, and while Mr. Brinkley said everybody had lots of lifetimes. So it intrigued me, and I started looking further. So today, I'm going to list off 7 easy, do-it-yourself, immediate gratification ways to explore past lives. And then Monday, I'll upload a pretty low level, well, easy, not too deep meditation. And then the following Thursday, I'll go into deeper methods and techniques you can use. And then that Monday, I'll upload a deeper, let's look and see what kind of trauma we can resolve kind of thing. So, okay. Easy ways to identify past lives. These are techniques, again, for immediate gratification. It's something just to pique your interest. So number 1, look at your current likes and dislikes or fears. Is there some sort of reaction you've had to something that you couldn't explain to anyone or anything? So in my case, I was called to a jury duty in Dallas a bazillion years ago. And for some reason, I just took an instant dislike to the defense attorney. And apparently I didn't have my game face on that day because I got called to the bench after a lot of folks were excused. And that guy, he looked at me and says, "I get the feeling you don't like me." And I looked at him, I was like, I know. I don't know why. I mean, if we could do this without attorneys, maybe, or maybe it's a past life thing. I don't know. It surprised both of us at how much I didn't like him. Okay. And so on the other side of the coin, I absolutely adore the work of Pierre-Auguste Renoir. His paintings, they're so delicate, and they get to the essence, and then the light play. And okay, so there was an art exhibit in Fort Worth, and it was called the Barnes exhibit. And this was a couple of this married couple who had purchased all kinds of art that they just thought was nice. They liked it. Well, it turns out they had a whole lot of the early Impressionist paintings, and in it was a Renoir, and it was his family. His wife, or some children, and then her cousin. And as I stood in front of it, first off, I was transfixed. I couldn't move. And then I felt this feeling in my heart, this pull at my heart that told me I had been there, that I was in the picture, in the painting. And it was astounding. And then there was another time I was talking to a channel friend of mine. I was at her house, and she had a print of the couple dancing in the shade. And she said, "Oh, just look at him. The way he looks at her with such love." And I popped off, "Oh, he fell in love with all of us models. Ugh, no big deal." I was like, how would I know that? So I I did more research, and then I looked and saw that his wife was named Elise. Started out as his mistress and then his wife. And in the course of all this, what ties this together was that in the course of other past life regressions, I saw myself as a woman in Paris, young woman. I could see my hands, and they were just beautiful and well cared for. And I got that her name was Elise. Could they have been the same person? I want to think so, yeah. So why not? Okay. So number two, you look at connections you have with other people. We travel in soul families. We orbit around each other. We orbit with each other through lifetimes. Sometimes we're in this one together, other times we take a break. We agree to examine aspects of a concept in between the lifetimes. Say we decide to look at love. So in one lifetime we could be lovers, another lifetime we could be a parent and child, another time we're siblings, and then there's the lifetime where we look at the absence of love. So I ask you, have you ever met someone that you felt this immediate and deep connection with, and you've never met them before, and yet you just feel like you've known each other forever? That could be a soul family member. I mean, then you can look at it and access past life info. Would you look at it? Why not? Number three is deja vu. Have you ever been somewhere that you just know you've been there before, even though you haven't? That's the key. You haven't been there before, and yet you know your way around the place. There are loads of stories of children who have been documented as saying, "Oh," as soon as they could talk, they would go, "Oh, yeah, my other family, this and this and this." And I watched a video that was talking about a kid, and he was Scottish. And so he kept talking about his family, his Berra family. And his mom, after hearing him talk about this for years, finally contacted a reincarnation specialist. And they went to Berra, they found all this stuff, and they were able to document that, yeah, he knew stuff even though he had never been there. But it's not limited to children. Children have not been told not to believe that, when they just start talking. Um, yeah, I've got a story about my niece who, when she was young, she would talk about seeing herself face down. I wasn't in the area at the time, and so I couldn't pump her for information, but she was talked out of it. But it's not limited to children. The story that really just busted all wide open is a book that was published in 1956 called The Search for Bridie Murphy. And it talks about a woman from Colorado who, under hypnosis, tapped into a lifetime in the early 1800s, and she was Irish. Her name was Bridie Murphy, and later on a lot of the details were debunked, but it certainly piqued curiosity and interest. And there's another book I've read called among the books I've read by Elizabeth Haich, and it's called Initiation. And in that story, among other things, she details these lucid memories she had of a life in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, and she was a priestess there. That one's fascinating. Other good books are um, Michael Newton, PhD. He's written a book about the journey of souls and the time between lives. And then Brian L. Weiss, MD, has documented a whole lot of cases he had when he regressed people in under hypnosis. So I highly recommend those two guys. Okay, so now we're at number four. Have you exhibited skills or found it very easy to pick up a skill that you had never been exposed to before? Um, you know, do you have an affinity for music or playing instruments or doing some kind of art or another skill like understanding cars or electricity or whatever. I mean, this could be a skill that's been pulled forward, that's been pulled with you from previous lives. Number 5, dreams are a gateway to our sub and unconscious minds. Set your intention before you go to sleep and set the intention to explore and remember past lives so that in the morning you can write them down. My writing in the morning is atrocious, so I use my phone recorder to do that. And even daydreams can lend you some insight. I was daydreaming once and I set the scene and I pulled up a lifetime as an Appalachian herb woman. And we'll get into that one in the next one. But number six, I used to love looking at encyclopedias and other historical reference books, costume history books. Oh, those are my fave. Frequently, they will give you nudges. Say you're looking at Victorian stuff, and you could say, "Oh, that corset. Oh, whatever." How would you know that if you've never worn a corset before? You know, shoot, just go look up different images, collections of images on Google. Museums, a lot of them are offering free access now. Oh, that's cool. I hadn't thought of that one. I'm going to have to do that myself. And then number 7, which is the final one, is sensory input. Do you does a certain aroma trigger some kind of memory for you? And yeah, the smell of cookies can help you remember, oh, when my grandma baked cookies. Or it could be some other memory. You could even go further back, or a taste, or sounds. There are lots of ways to open yourself up to recalling memories. But these are really easy. You can do it without any equipment, without much time. It's just something to think about. I will give you a caveat, however, or two. Number 1, not everybody's famous. Not everybody is a historical figure. You won't necessarily be Joan of Arc or Napoleon or the Queen of Sheba or Catherine the Great, okay? There are far more common people, regular people in history than there are these celebrities. Also, caveat number 2, not every lifetime was rainbows and unicorns and glitter and wine and roses. There are sometimes you're going to be the hero in whatever lifetime. Then there are also times when you're going to be a villain and not so nice. It's okay. This is all information. Don't take personally when you get this information. You can use it to figure out why your life is today and how you can change that. So, what are we looking at? Oh, okay. I think that's enough of a download for today. And just remember, Monday we're going to do kind of superficial meditation, if that's not an oxymoron. Sounds like it kind of is. We're going to do like a meditation light so you can go through and figure it out. Thursday, we're going to get deeper into it, some stuff that requires serious time and thought. And then that following Monday, we'll actually go through a full regression where you go and look at a life, get the information you need, lessons, resolve it, and move on. So thanks so very much. And until next time, blessings.